The tornado sirens should have been screaming, but they were dead silent. Honestly, that was the first sign something was wrong. The sky had turned this sickly greenish black, the kind that makes you uneasy just looking at it, and the air was heavy, weirdly electric, almost like you could taste the storm before it even hit. Then you heard it crack snap, a chorus of power lines giving way, the lights blinking out house by house. Oakwood Gardens, where nothing exciting ever happened, was suddenly thrown into complete darkness. Even the cell towers, those ugly things everyone always complained about, crumpled like cheap soda cans. No phone service, no news alerts, nothing but wind and fear and that sinking feeling in your gut. Most folks hunkered down wherever they could. Bathrooms, basements, closets, trying to convince themselves this was just another summer thunderstorm. But I was in my garage, squinting at the only light in the room, the soft blue glow of my ham radio. My hands were steady as I dialed the frequency muscle memory from years of practice kicking in, even as the wind rattled the doors like a wild animal. CQ emergency. CQ emergency. This is K5TXM in Oakwood Gardens. Tornado on the ground, multiple homes damaged, immediate assistance needed. My voice cut through the static, reached out further than any cell phone ever could. For the next 3 hours, that little setup in my garage was the only thing connecting my neighborhood to the outside world, a lifeline strung out over the airwaves. But you know what's funny? Just 3 weeks earlier, that same garage was where all the trouble started. It was a gorgeous Saturday, sky as blue as you could want, and I was on the roof, sweat dripping off my brow, wrangling a brand new Diamond X300A antenna into place. This thing was a beast, 6 feet tall, aluminum, gleaming in the sun, engineered to reach out for miles in an emergency. I'd been a ham operator for 15 years, part of the Midwest Emergency Radio Network, so prepping for disasters was just part of the hobby. The garage looked more like a miniature NASA command center than a place to park a car. Battery, backups, weather monitors, wires, everywhere, my pride and joy. I was tightening the last bolt when I heard those heels, sharp, precise click-clacking on the driveway. I peeked over the edge, and sure enough, there stood Karen Blackwood, HOA president and undisputed queen of Oakwood Gardens. Not a hair out of place, arms crossed, lips pursed so tight it looked painful. "Excuse me," she called up, voice as cold as the inside of a freezer. "What exactly do you think you're doing up there?" I tried to explain calmly, like an adult, that the antenna was for emergency communications, licensed by the FCC, approved by disaster relief folks. Didn't matter. Her face got redder with every word. "That monstrosity violates Section 4, subsection B. No external structures over 3 feet. Take it down immediately." The next Monday, I got an official letter, $200, fine, $50 more every day it stayed up. So I went to the next board meeting armed with diagrams, FCC docs, testimonials from emergency coordinators, you name it. I told them about the 2019 ice storm, how ham radios had literally saved lives when the cell towers froze up. Karen sat at the head of the table, tapping those nails, bored out of her mind. "Mr. Thompson," she said, dripping with sarcasm, "your little radio games are interesting, but we have property values to consider." The rest of the board just stared at their shoes. Vote was 4-1 against me. Afterward, I tried talking to her alone. "Karen, this isn't just a hobby. It could save someone's life." She laughed, right in my face, laughed. "We have 911 for emergencies. Your outdated junk is just an eyesore. Take it down by Friday or we'll take legal action." Well, I didn't take it down. I paid the fines, called a lawyer one who specialized in FCC law and property rights. Turns out the Amateur Radio Parity Act gives us ham folks a little protection. My lawyer shot off a letter to the HOA. That bought me some time. But Karen, she doubled down. She started stalking my place, snapping photos of my garbage cans if I left them out too long, measuring my grass with a ruler, griping about my rain gutters, even the welcome mat on my porch. It was petty, vindictive, almost comical if it wasn't so exhausting. Then came that Thursday in late June. Heat so thick you felt like you were swimming instead of breathing. I was in the garage monitoring weather reports when I heard the chatter supercell forming to the west possible rotation. Within 30 minutes, the whole world changed. The birds went quiet. Air went still, then bam, the wind hit. Trash cans flew down the street. Branches snapped. The sky spun itself into a funnel, and suddenly the tornado was bearing down on us. Power died in an instant, transformers exploding one after another. I watched my neighbor's tree go through their roof like a missile, alarms howling and dying all at once. I grabbed my radio, ran to my safe spot, and started transmitting. Tornado on the ground moving northeast. Multiple structures damaged. We need search and rescue. Prairie City Emergency Services answered right away. K5 TXM, can you relay info to neighbors? Suddenly, I'm not just helping myself, I'm the only line anyone's got. Neighbors started banging on my garage door, drawn by the only light in the whole block. Mrs. Patterson, 2 doors down, was crying. Her mom was trapped in their basement under a fallen tree. I sent their address to rescue teams. The Johnsons couldn't reach their son who'd been driving home. I put out a call, and another ham operator let us know the kid made it to a shelter. Over 3 hours, I relayed reports about gas leaks, injuries, which streets were blocked. I guided fire trucks around fallen trees using directions from other radio operators across town, even coordinated with the Red Cross to get a shelter up at the community center. Every few minutes, someone new showed up needing help, and every time I sent it out over the air. And then, even Karen showed up, her perfect hair wild, her designer outfit spattered with mud. Her husband was clutching his chest, sweating and scared, and suddenly all those rules didn't matter anymore. Please, she said, voice shaking, he needs help. I got on the radio, relayed every detail, gave the address, his symptoms. Paramedics showed up in under 12 minutes thanks to the network of ham operators guiding them through the debris. When the sun finally came up, you could see the devastation, trees everywhere, roofs gone, cars upside down, whole streets wiped out. 14 homes badly damaged, but by some miracle, no one died. Later, the emergency services coordinator told the news it was the ham radio network that made the difference. Fast info, the right addresses helped getting where it was needed. By that afternoon, news crews had swarmed in. Channel 7 set up right in front of my house, my antenna front and center on live TV. Fire Chief Daniels told the cameras, without amateur radio operators especially, Tom Thompson rescue would have taken hours longer. The reporter turned to me and asked about the antenna, if the HOA had really tried to make me take it down. I just said, there were some discussions, yeah. But last night showed why this stuff matters. Right then, neighbors started lining up to give their side. Mrs. Patterson, the Johnsons, even the paramedics, all of them said the ham radio saved lives that night. Next Tuesday, the HOA called an emergency meeting. The place was packed, standing room only. Karen sat up front looking small for the first time in her life. Before she could open her mouth, neighbors started speaking, not shouting, just calmly telling what happened, how the radio was their only hope. David Sullivan, one of the quieter board members, stood up and said, I move to dismiss all violations against Tom and recognize his station as vital to our community safety. Someone seconded before he could sit down. Karen tried to object, muttering about bylaws, but the room wasn't having it. Someone yelled for a vote of no confidence. It passed right there she was, out just like that. But karma has a sense of humor, right? The city's emergency director filed a complaint about the HOA. State Attorney General opened an investigation, reckless endangerment, they called it. 3 months later, Karen was in court lawyer begging for leniency. The judge fined her $75,000 plus legal fees, ordered her to do 200 hours of community service with emergency preparedness teams. She just crumpled right there in the courtroom, sobbing, saying, "But I was just trying to keep up property values." Yeah, that happened. Funny how fast priorities can change when real life comes crashing through your perfect little neighborhood. The antenna's still there, by the way. Oakwood Gardens has never been safer or louder, honestly, with all the new folks on the radio these days. But every time a storm cloud rolls in, I still catch people glancing nervously at the sky, wondering what might happen if the next disaster hits. So, what do you think was the HOA? Right to try and enforce their rules, or did they cross the line? Let me know in the comments, because when it comes to community safety and a little common sense, I figure we could all use a good debate.